Now, today, Trump's visit to the Middle East brought him to Qatar. It's also acceptable to say Qatar. However, Qatar is not acceptable under any circumstances. Pick an instrument, you synth pop coward. Now, yesterday, Saudi Arabia greeted Trump with horses. And today, Qatar said, oh, you think that's cool? How about horses and camels and motherfucking sword dancers? Yeah, whoa! That puts a lot of pressure on his trip tomorrow to the UAE. I bet they're sweating right now. You know, we're just gonna give him an edible arrangement. What the are we gonna do? Whew. Of course, Qatar didn't just give him a sword dance show. They also offered him a $400 million luxury jumbo jet. Now, this plane has become a huge controversy. It's a security risk. The optics are terrible. It's clearly unconstitutional. So you gotta wonder, why does Trump want it so bad?
And you know, these planes, the plane that you're on right now is almost 40 years old. And when you land and you see Saudi Arabia and you see UAE and you see Qatar and you see all these, and they have these brand new Boeing 747s mostly, and you see ours next to it, it's much smaller, it's much less impressive. I believe that we should have the most impressive plane.
We still talking about planes? Look, we're on the tarmac next to each other, you know. I know you're not supposed to just look straight ahead, but so I took a little peek over there, a little peek over there. Cockpit was huge, man. Oh, honestly, it's getting a little embarrassing watching Trump fly around the Middle East getting sword dances and free jets. I mean, is he going to do any actual policy stuff?
I will be ordering the cessation of sanctions against Syria in order to give them a chance at greatness.
Well, you know what? I spoke too soon. This seems like maybe actually a good idea. You know, Syria has just thrown off decades of dictatorship, and Trump thinks the new government deserves a chance to find its feet free of U.S. sanctions. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was wrong about this guy. You know, he doesn't just think about himself.
Syria's new president, Ahmed al-Shara, reportedly offered to build a Trump Tower in Damascus.
God damn it! God damn it! I spoke too soon about speaking too soon! But hey, you know what? Good on you, Syria, whatever it takes. And you know what? PBS, maybe you could learn a lesson from this. Instead of whining about Trump cutting children's programming, have you thought of offering him a Trump Tower on Sesame Street, you know? Could be a win-win. But let's move on. Just because Trump's out of the country doesn't mean his team isn't shaking things up at home. Today, at a congressional hearing, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Health Secretary and Human Wet Market, faced some tough questions about whether he wants his own children to be alive.
Something that might be helpful is you've previously said you vaccinated your children. If you had a child today, would you vaccinate that child for measles?
For measles, probably for measles. You know, what I would say is my opinions about vaccines are irrelevant. I don't think people should be taking advice, medical advice from me.
Then what is your job? You know what? Call me an idealist, but it'd be nice if people could take medical advice from the health secretary. You know, maybe it's actually pretty good advice to not listen to RFK's advice, because here's how he spent his weekend.
Robert Kennedy Jr. may be Secretary of Health and Human Services, but if you want to stay healthy, don't go swimming in a sewage-contaminated creek, and for sure, don't take your grandkids in there.
That creek that RFK Jr. is splashing around in isn't exactly pristine. In fact, it's a sewer runoff and is polluted with widespread fecal contamination. Swimming and wading are banned. But in this photo, RFK Jr. is totally submerged.
Whoa. Hey. RFK promised us he'd find the cause of autism, remember? I mean, at this point, it's like RFK Jr. is going out of his way to be gross. Does he just go on Google Maps and search disgusting things near me? These pictures are so wild. The fact that he went swimming in jeans is the most normal part of this story.